Good evening, everyone. I just want to invite you to our talk today about the Asian American culture in the classroom, what it means to have these students in your classroom, what it means to adapt to having them not only in the classroom, but how to communicate with them, how to best teach them, and how to understand them as our students. So we're going to go ahead and dive into a Prezi. I'm going to switch your screen over, and we're going to just get started. Right with the information from your textbook. And this is found, a lot of the information that I used is found over in chapter 13 of your textbook. So just as a reminder, if you want to learn any more about this, you can go ahead and check out chapter 13 of your textbook. So we're going to start with the demographics. It is important to remember that the Asian American population gained citizenship in 1952 and are allowed to begin to apply for citizenship in the United States. It wasn't until 1952 because of the hostility that we experienced with the Japanese in World War II after the bombing of Pearl Harbor and then our invasion during the war. So FDR did not allow Asian Americans to become citizens until 1952. So this picture is Japanese Americans loading a bus to be moved out into an internment camp, which kept them isolated from society during the turmoil that we experienced as a country in World War II. So we're going to go ahead and look at the subgroups of the Asian American culture, which makes up 5.6% of the U.S. population. The Chinese are the largest of the subgroups with 4 million citizens, and then second is the Filipino Americans with 3.4 million citizens. Then third, the American Indian population, which is 3.2 million. And something cool to remember is that from 1980 to 2010, this population tripled. So the Asian American population is made up of 43 ethnic groups, 28 Asian, and in the top right corner of your screen, you see a young Chinese girl who is a member of this subgroup, and then moving clockwise, you see a Filipino American girl, and then a Korean American boy, and a Japanese American boy. And so all of these are examples of the 28 Asian subgroups that make up the Asian American population. And then moving clockwise, you see a Hawaiian girl, and then a Samoan girl and young boy. And those are examples of the Pacific Islander group that make up the 43 ethnic groups. Next, we're going to look at the concentration of the Asian American population in the United States, which is found mostly in urban western United States, specifically in Los Angeles and San Francisco. You can see pictures here of Chinatowns in both San Francisco and New York. And it is cool to remember that 2/3 of Filipinos and Japanese live in either California and Hawaii. Not only did they migrate there, but they've stayed there, and they've not dispersed themselves as thoroughly across the United States as the Korean and Asian Indians, which tend to be more dispersed and not as grouped up in these subcultures that you see in the pictures here. So the Asian American culture has had great success in their move. They are considered the model minority because not only have they come to America, but they have become the highest income, fastest growing, and best educated racial group in the United States. And they maintain the same graduation rate as white Americans, which is 90%, which just shows their success in not only in America, but in schooling system and within the greater American population. They have the highest average household income of $66,000 a year versus the $49,800 in the average white American household income. And they've maintained a competitive edge with American and Japanese students for college and university slots, which means that they not only have come and had success in high school, but they have had success in our colleges in the application and in the education process that we call higher education here in the United States. The next thing that we're going to do is watch a video from the TV show Glee. Mike Chang is a main character on Glee and is shown in this video as he experiences what they consider the Asian F.
Miss Tina.
You got an Asian F?
In episode Asian F, we meet Mike Chang's parents.
My grandmother in China knew 3 English phrases. Coca-Cola, kiss my grits, and Harvard University. Deep in Hubei province, this old woman knew the best school in the United States. That's where my son belongs.
You know, they cast some great actors, Tamara Tomita and Kong.
The least you could do is tell me the truth.
I don't want to be a surgeon or a lawyer, Mom. First time they came on set, one of the crew members said, "Hey, your mom's really hot." And I was like, I don't know how to take that. I kind of had to agree, but which was weird that I agreed with that. I'm so happy that they gave Mike Chang a little more backstory and some depth to the character outside of dancing, and also what dancing means to him.
So through this clip, we can see not only the racial and the just genuine idea of success in America, but we can see how the success in America is, for these Asian Americans, is really closely related to their family. They desire their family to not only do well, but bring honor and just a sense of pride to their family unit. So Mike Chang was encouraged by his parents to become a doctor or a lawyer instead of becoming a dancer, because those positions hold much more honor. And it is important to see that in America, these cultures, these traditional cultures of the Asian heritage, are really challenged by what is going on in their immigration to America. So we see more than just that cultural shift in these families. We see that the family unit in the Asian culture is valued over the individual. So Mike Chang was asked to follow his family's virtues instead of his own personal desires. And you see that as his father said, his grandmother desired for him to be a product of generations, going to Harvard, achieving a high degree, and being honored in not only the Asian culture, but also holding a place of pride and honor in the American culture. So this honor-shame society reinforces the roles not only of their parents, but also of their grandparents in just creating a very interdependent culture that relies on the encouragement and on the success of every single generation. The family types that you see in the Asian American culture really have a broad range. The most conservative of family types is called the traditional family type, and they are untouched by the assimilation and the acculturation of the American society. They don't stay in contact with the white world very often. They have not become similar to America in their beliefs, and they have not allowed their culture to be changed by what is going on in the world around them. The second group is called culture conflict. In this group, the parents have become acculturated. They've allowed their culture to seep into some of the ideas of American culture, and the children have become Americanized. However, these children experience major role confusion because though the parents have gained cultural aspects of America, they have not become completely assimilated. They have not become a complete part of the American culture, which means that these kids don't really know where the line is between the Asian and the American culture. They don't know where to walk. They don't know what is acceptable and what is not acceptable, which makes them experience this role confusion as Asian Americans. The third group is called the bicultural group. This group is westernized. The parents are either born in America or Asia. They are professional, middle class, and bilingual, which means that they have not only come to America, but they have maintained jobs and a place in society as middle class. They have inherited the American language, and they recognize that they need to blend their Asian structure with the American structure, creating this blended family that operates in both the Asian and American world. The Americanized family type is the fourth type that we're talking about. And in this type, the families are very American. They don't hold much interest in their ethnic identity and don't hold much ground back in Asia. They don't really feel like they need to identify with their past heritage and really feel like they're part of the American culture, not the Asian culture. The final group is the interracial group, which is formed by biracial marriage, which is when one Asian person and a person of another race is married. They can either successfully integrate their families or have conflict in their integration, which shows that either they were able to merged two very different cultures together, or they were not. And this is really important for us to see, because if students are dealing with this kind of conflict at home, they're definitely going to bring that to the classroom, and they're not going to know how to act and how not to act within the classroom. So another conflict that our students are going to just experience not only at home but in the classroom is value conflict. When we look at these comparisons, we need to remember that we are looking first at the Asian culture and then second at the American culture. So the Asian culture values interdependence. They value a family that is tightly knit and relies on one another. Whereas in America, we value independence. We desire to provide our children with driver's license at young age, to encourage them to move away to college and to become independent and be able to sustain themselves at a young age. The Asian culture also values a hierarchy of relationships, which means that they not only look to their parents for wisdom, but their grandparents and their great-grandparents. They respect their grandparents and their elders and view their elders as the focus of their culture instead of youth. In America, we focus on youth and the change and the just great opportunities that you have in your youth, whereas in Asia, they focus on the wisdom and the knowledge of the elders. Our third value conflict is emotional restraint and emotional expression. In the Asian culture, emotional restraint is seen as a sign of maturity, which means that they view the ability to contain your emotions and contain your thoughts and feelings as a sign of maturity, that you don't feel like you need to express those things to the world because you can deal with them on your own. Whereas in the American culture, we believe that emotional expression is a way to cure relationships, to build relationships, and to explain ourselves and explain our feelings. And in America, when you're able to explain your feelings and express your thoughts, you're seen as mature because you can do that in a respectful and an honorable way. The final value conflict that we're going to talk about in the classroom is the expectation for solutions versus the expectation of introspection. Asian American students really desire for a black and white concrete solution to be given to them, whereas American students see the value of finding that answer and finding that solution on their own. Both of these methods of teaching are very valuable in our classroom, but if we're only allowing our students to find the answers on their own, Asian American students in our classrooms can often be found very frustrated and confused because they don't see how they're able to find a solution on their own. They want to work backwards. They want to be given the solution and then figure out how they can get there instead of be given a problem and asked to find the solution. This is a few different ways that we see the Asian American culture just penetrate the classroom and encounter diversity with these students in our classrooms. The final thing that we're going to do is watch a short video that recaps and overviews this entire lesson. You're welcome to leave the lesson now if you need to, but if you want to stick around and watch this final video, you're more than welcome. I definitely found it to be a great recap.
Hey guys! Growing up, sometimes it felt like we lived in two completely different worlds. There was the American world where we ate Lunchables and hot dogs and spoke English and it was awesome.
And then there was the Chinese world at home where we ate rice, spoke Chinese, and ate fish and lobster and all the stuff that I haven't eaten today.
So today we're going to talk about some of the differences that we see between Asian culture and American culture.
And we want you to tell us which culture you relate to more.
Let us know in the comments below. Let's go! Down. Oh no! Number 1, American culture values punctuality, whereas Asian culture, time is more of a guideline. You know how Americans have that saying, if you're on time, you're late?
Oh yeah.
Well, if you're Asian, you go to an Asian event. Usually if you're late, you're actually on time.
True that.
Or you're a little bit early.
True that.
When you tell me an event is at 5, I will leave at 5:15, 30. Yeah.
2. So the American culture values the individual, whereas the Asian community values the community. Asians can't eat by themselves.
That's true, the Americans do.
Oh, I can eat whatever.
I noticed this especially with loitering. When I hang out with my Asian friends, we'll just clump together and not leave until they force us out.
We're like magnets.
That's not a magnet. Oh, what is this?
It's like a magnet. Keep coming on.
Oh. Number 3, American culture believes in expressing emotion, whereas Asian culture is more about keeping it internalized. That's part of like the Asian thing too. It's like saving face. All the problems at home, keep them at home. You don't let anybody know about them.
When I was younger, if I cried in public, I was done for. Just kidding. I don't know if they actually said that. I feel like in my imagination, that's how it was. 4, the American culture celebrates the youth. That's me. The Asian culture celebrates the elderly. Like kids.
I'm not that old.
So for me specifically, our grandparents are always like a really big deal, and I love them a lot. We visit them, we bring things for them.
Not that Americans don't respect their elders, but it's not as big of an emphasis. But as for American culture, it's like all about the youth movement and the X generation, the Y generation, the Sapphire. I don't know what the generations are anymore. There's so many of them. Number 5. American culture really emphasizes the extracurricular activities, while Asian culture is more about emphasizing the academics. I did a lot of extracurricular activities at school, but it wasn't for the joy of doing those. It was more about using those activities to get me into a better school.
I feel like a lot of Asians have this where like people just assume that all you do is school. And for me, I don't know why, I just like really wanted to like break that stereotype, I guess. Number 6. So Americans value confidence and Asians tend to value humility. It's always been so hard for me to talk about myself and like sell myself. Growing up, my parents are always like, no matter how good you are, you can't ever say that you're good at something. That's obviously changing now. Now I'm just like, I'm great at everything.
Number 7. So American culture values tan skin and Asian culture values the pale skin. Dude, I should move to Asia. Because in Asia, I would be so beautiful, you know, like all my pale skin.
I feel like that's mostly like now for girls though. I lived with my mom ranting at me about how tan I am since I was born.
But it's so hard because I feel like Asians tan really easily.
Most Asians do. In high school, I ran track, and that was like my mom's worst nightmare because after a day, I come home and I'm like 10 shades darker.
Dude, 10 shades of darker? Hey guys, as always.
Awesome. Okay, well, this wraps up our session today. So I'm going to just go ahead and exit out all this. Thank you for joining us, and I hope that you have a great evening.